Welcome to Educating Geeks, the podcast where friends help friends discover new passions. I'm geek host Megan, and in the studio today we have
Alice,
Andrea,
and Cassie.
And today we are educating Andrea about X-Files Season 1, which I know Cassie and I are very excited about because we're big X-Files geeks. And
Indeed.
I know Alice has watched quite a bit of X-Files too.
Yeah, but I, in going back to watch season 1, I feel like I'm being educated on that season as well because I honestly don't remember any of those shows.
None?
None. Like, I don't remember the pilot. I don't remember like, when I was watching it, I was like, did I not start watching until the heyday, like, you know, season 3 to 6, right? I think 5 was its peak, but
yes.
I didn't remember that Cancer Man was there at the beginning. I didn't remember that the Lone Gunmen were there at the beginning. Skinner is even in the beginning. I just didn't remember that the growth of that mythology started from the very beginning. Because, again, I don't think I remember watching from the very beginning. So it was kind of fun to see some of the early stuff because I don't remember it.
So Alice is kind of getting an education.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting it.
So how come you hadn't watched X-Files before, Andrea?
Well, I want to point out when X-Files came out, I was 8.
And?
So it really wasn't appropriate for
Her
It
parents
did not stop Cassie or me.
My parents are very conservative. I didn't see a lot of things until I didn't see the first Jurassic Park until I was already in junior high.
Oh, wow.
I didn't play video games until the end of elementary school. And it wasn't, my parents were like, oh, those are bad things. It was just lived in a very conservatively religious neighborhood where that wasn't part of the culture you grow up in. So it wasn't until I got older and moved out of that I was like, oh my God, there's so many amazing things out here.
Well, I didn't start watching until 98, so I was 11. And then I just watched it all. And I was in a conservative, like our church, that was a no-no. You know, you do not watch the X-Files.
Oh, really?
That's
it was
demonic.
A church edict.
Was it kind of like, don't watch Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't watch
Or
anything.
read.
Or Charmed or any of that stuff. Like, it was no. And I was like,
I was not allowed to watch
I politely
Charmed.
said at 11, I don't care. I'm going to watch this show because I love it. And so I binge watched it up until that point. And I think in 98, that's when they did the feature film, or they were producing the feature film, or it had just been released.
Was
yeah,
it
the
that
first
early,
one.
really?
Yeah, first one was like late 90s, late one, or the second one was late 2000s.
Yeah,
like
we won't talk
2009.
much about the second one.
I still haven't seen the second one.
It's okay.
I guess
I
that's
Cassie
assure
wants
right.
you to
you.
stay that way.
I guess
Sure.
that's right, because the first one did come out when I was living overseas.
Yeah, and it was like, they were shooting, if memory serves, the season, which by the way, that's like 22 episode seasons, and the feature film like at the same time.
Did they really?
I don't know
didn't
how
realize
they
that.
lived through that.
Wow.
Crazy.
crazy.
No wonder they hated each other.
They didn't. Let's not talk about that. Anyway.
Aw, way to rain on everyone's parade.
So back to season 1.
Yeah, season 1. So
So
back to 93.
So yeah, so you started watching when you were 11, and did you watched it all the way through? Like, did you go back and catch up?
Oh yeah, thanks to syndication and VHS and
The
Yeah.
VHS.
Yeah.
What's that?
yeah. What's that?
For
Oh,
those
did you
of
have to rewind them when you were done with them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, worked that tape, and that's when I recorded the episodes on Sunday nights on VHS.
How excellent.
Oh my
I love
god.
that.
Anyway, so season 1, yeah, I didn't watch it in 93. I did not watch it when I was 6.
Yeah, I don't think I did either, but I remember watching it a lot. Both of my parents, I think my mom in particular, really liked it. So
Wait, this is the mother who didn't let you
you
watch
didn't let me
Buffy?
watch Buffy or Charmed. Yeah.
Whatever.
X-Files is okay, though.
My mother, God bless her, like has really strange selective criteria for what her children can and can't watch. And apparently some really violent things are totally okay. But if there's a vampire involved,
Yeah.
maybe I could watch it, because it's totally okay for me to watch like Interview with the Vampire, but not Buffy.
That's hilarious.
That is hysterical.
I'm wondering if it's maybe more the sexual. I mean, I know
I don't
Interview with the
know.
Vampire has its own.
I was going to
but-
say, that's got...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, Buffy
Borderline
does have
weirdness.
kind of that teenage sexual.
Yeah, I
like-
don't know. She,
Whatever.
you just latch on to something. She must have seen something somewhere that she didn't like, but
Right.
so yeah, I watched quite a lot of it. I had seen several of the episodes in the first season while I was rewatching, but not all of them. But I had seen probably half of them. Like I remember the pilot. That was the one I really remembered, but there were a couple. I'd seen Eve a couple of times. I think I'd seen the one with the guy that could stretch out.
Yeah.
Oh,
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had never seen the space one. I'd seen a good portion of them. Yeah. Yeah. So who was everybody's favorite character?
Duh, Scully. What, I mean, like, it's even a question.
She's kind of mine too.
Yeah, I mean, between the two, it was Scully
Yeah.
for me, for sure. The two leads.
Oh yeah, I'd say between the two leads, definitely Scully. But of all of the characters, I think I really enjoy the boss.
Oh, Skinner. I love
I was
Skinner.
I'm like that. It starts with an S.
So, but I think he's only in one episode in season 1.
I think he's in 2. He
He's
shows
in
up
2.
twice, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
I don't know, but I don't know. And then, of course, I kept watching, so I'm trying to make sure I separate myself from that. But I do like his character even in season 1. I enjoy what he brings to the table. Sort of a...
Well, and he definitely gets more interesting and way more screen time as the show continues.
Yeah,
So,
and he
becomes,
a much more
stronger
vital
element.
part of the show as it goes on. But
Yeah.
even in
Totally.
season 1, I like the introduction of... so I have my own topic to cover on that. But
Okay.
I like what he brings to the table, so...
Yeah.
Okay, what about
'Cause it's
you?
really Deep Throat who's more prominent. in
Yeah,
season
he
1.
is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I never cared for him, but
I didn't either, and I forgot that he got ended.
he was kind of boring though. So I
Yeah.
think that's partly why.
And I didn't like the. Well, I mean, I can understand why he was necessary because obviously Mulder had to have an ally to get him the information to move forward this mythology and his quest. But yeah, he never really resonated with me.
Well, who is your favorite though?
Oh, okay. So Scully, it was. If you had asked me when I was in the thick of it, Scully I think was my favorite, even though I loved Mulder and wanted to marry him. But now, with years later, they're tied for me for different reasons. They're a little bit more.
I think season 1, it's definitely Scully.
Yeah.
I think depending
Yeah.
on the season, I may waver between Scully or Mulder, depending on what kind of bug crawled up their butt that season.
See, later seasons, I will like if we were to cover this for season 5 or season 6 or even especially season 7, that late in the series, I would say Scully. But for some reason, just seeing them on this introductory season,
It's such an
was pretty cool.
interesting dynamic that they have in the first season.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Well,
changes quite a bit.
When you read up a little bit too on like the development and the history between the actual TV show, you can see that. So Chris Carter really wanted Scully and Mulder to be very platonic. Like
Right.
he
Yes.
wanted them to
Yes.
be friends and coworkers, and that was it. Like he was very adamant about that, and
Yeah.
you can kind of see the struggle between him and the executives sometimes in that relationship, I think, because she tries to be so platonic, and you can just see like the story seems to be wanting them to do something other than that, and just sometimes you can see that kind of internal struggle between the TV executives and Chris Carter. Like, just
Did you feel like
occasionally.
that was the case in season 1?
Yes,
So wait,
I
was
think you
I
can
didn't
see
realize
a little bit of that.
a
yeah.
little bit. I think you can kind of get that those hints every once in a while that this maybe wasn't what one of the two sides wanted.
Are you talking about the network, Fox, or the studio?
Yeah, network.
The network wanted romance.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
They tried to write in a boyfriend for Scully in the first
At the
episode
beginning,
at the
yeah.
pilot.
Yeah, and then they wrote him
yeah.
out.
And they cut him
I
out.
do remember that.
I always, and this is going a little bit beyond, but I've never been a Mulder and a Scully shipper. I know they're out there, but
She's
I
right
was
next to you,
always.
actually.
I'm sorry, but I mean, to me, they always had a perfect friendship. They were like, and that was what I loved so much about them as a partnership, was that they seemed like soulmates to me, but soulmates that were never supposed to be romantic. Like, and you can have a friend that you hug and you're very intimate with and very close with without it being sexual.
Have you not seen When Harry Met Sally?
No.
Just kidding.
Duh,
kidding.
the ultimate truth. Apparently. No, but I think you're right.
Life
But I
guidance from
never
Billy Crystal.
wanted them to like get together.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I hadn't read that when I was researching things, but in watching it and not remembering it, but having future knowledge, when I watched season 1, what felt like for the first time, I was like, I don't remember there being so much sexy like tension, but it really felt like to me there was, but I didn't know if I was projecting that from future knowledge.
I don't think so, because I got that sometimes too. Where I'm
Oh,
like,
I
this feels
definitely
really
did.
inappropriate right now. Like,
But it's
step away, one space.
It's hard though sometimes if actors have that chemistry, which
Right.
they
They
did.
do. Yeah.
They did and do to this day. I think
Olicity, just saying it.
it's a little right with the Arrow. Yeah, it's hard. Of course, that's a little bit trickier with Arrow,
Yes.
but yeah, when actors have that chemistry, sometimes it, I think, can elevate what's written and maybe even
Right.
what's directed to a level that was not intended.
Right, that
And I-
subtext just comes out.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think that might have been the case in some episodes.
Yeah.
Well, since we're on the topic of specific episodes, what was everyone's favorite episode?
Beyond the Sea.
Tell what happened in that one.
Beyond the Sea is the one where Scully's dad dies.
Oh yeah.
The wonderful actor from Stargate.
Oh,
Donis Davis.
Donis Davis.
Yes.
That's right. He showed up.
Yeah.
I was like, it's Dawn.
Yeah.
We'll come to that whole
God rest his
Donis
soul. We miss
Davis
you,
topic
Don.
later.
The other thing that I don't, and again, because I was like, wait, I don't remember that all this was set up like season 1 set up, but it makes sense that it was. That Scully is not immediately, but in season 1, as early as season 1, put in the position where she has to believe things that aren't science related, right? That whole belief non-belief thing is set up like right away. And so in this
Well,
episode,
that's the whole basis for the show.
I know, but I just don't remember it being so strongly.
Oh, they established
away, yeah.
They established their pattern right away.
Right away.
And they stick with it.
And so in this case, it's the serial killer who's going to die, and he's channeling her dad, and all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that I have that as one of my, I don't know if I could say favorite episodes, but definitely most memorable episodes, because I thought it was interesting that they killed her father so
Yeah.
soon. They introduced
Exactly.
him, and it seemed arbitrary because it didn't really, even though she saw some crazy stuff in that episode, it did not change her inability or unwillingness to believe in paranormal stuff in the episodes following. And that's something that I think a lot of critics had with the character as the series went on, is she saw so much crazy shit.
When's she going to start just straight up believing?
When's she going
Right,
to believe?
yeah.
And that was something where I thought, okay, so they killed her father very early on, like introduced him and killed him.
Right.
And then she still carries on that belief in the natural, even though she saw this man.
To that point, though, there have been scientific studies talking about people having been given proof that disproves something they believe very strongly. So the study in case was science disproving some sort of religious belief, right? And they find that your fight or flight reflexes kick in even when you're just simply dealing with data. Like you...
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
So-
That was posted recently. I
Yeah,
think.
so I would assume you could kind of go on those lines with Scully, is that her natural instinct, the thing that's safe for her, is science and medicine. So it's her fight or flight reflexes kick in, and she wants to believe it because she wants to support Mulder, but like at the same time, it scares her, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah, that makes
natural
sense.
biological instinct kicks in, and it's hard for her to
Well,
get
and
past
I
that.
can get that for maybe seasons 1 through 5, but not through season fucking 10.
Well,
I'm sorry.
they didn't make it. They didn't make it to season 10, but 6. She did start having. I think 6 is the one where. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but I think season 6 on. It's still painfully slow,
Right.
but by the end, she is sort of the Mulder by necessity.
But that's kind of one of the things that I've always appreciated about her character, is that she is a scientist and a doctor first and foremost, and so she's always going to go back to what's scientifically provable.
Right. A
And
skeptic. You're
yeah,
gonna
she's
question
a true.
it. You question.
She is a true skeptic. I know someone wanted to talk about this, and we know her at the end of every episode typing her report, and we get to hear her delicious voiceover. She comes out and says, like, I have no idea. It's completely unexplained. Like, whatever we're investigating, like, there's usually something that she's like, I just cannot explain what happened. Like, there's scientific proof that, like, the guy that could stretch himself out. We've got these crazy fingerprints that were left at the crime scene. He's somehow getting in and out of these places. We have no idea. I cannot say scientifically for a fact that this evidence that we found cannot support Mulder's crazy theory.
Right.
Which is what I love about her. Like, she's always going to go back to the data, and she always full on admits, I cannot explain this.
And yet it is. It exists. This happened.
Yeah.
Like, I can't explain why, can't explain how, but it happened.
And like a true scientist, she doesn't come out and say, we're just going to throw this out the window. She's like, there is weird evidence here.
Or she doesn't say, God made it so.
Yeah. Like, she's following the data. And she's being a scientist and a skeptic, and it's one of the things I like about her.
So, here's the thing with me. I had the episodes that I would have to argue probably are my favorite are also my least favorite.
Okay.
Because, and here's why. Okay. So, first of all, my least favorite episode is Alice's favorite episode, Beyond the Seas, only because for me, having a situation where I can see myself as Scully having a father of that nature, like, to me, it was that much harder because, like, I understand where she's coming from, like, emotionally. So, like, when I'm done watching that episode, I'm like, I'm mentally and a little
emotionally
exhausted.
Raw.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I kind of hate the fact that I just watched that. So, but at the same time, episodes like that one and Tombs were like, I'm scared out of the bejesus. Like, I like them because it means it was a powerful episode.
Right.
Like, it had an impact. It was well done if it can make me scared. But at the same time, that guy is really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was interesting that they had, I think it's rare, I could be wrong, I think it's pretty rare for a show to introduce a character, like a monster, especially a monster
For
of the week
week,
type of
yeah.
show,
Yeah.
and then revisit him so soon in the season.
Yeah, I thought that was strange, too. I wouldn't have expected them to go back that quickly.
I don't know. That
So-
wasn't season 1 that they revisited it, was it? I thought it was.
Yeah.
Tombs is in twice.
He's in twice in season 1.
Yeah,
Okay.
early, and
then
late.
late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, piece of trivia: the actor, whose name I cannot remember, sent Chris Carter, I believe it was a cow liver, as a thank you for
my
casting him in
God.
that role.
Craziness.
Why would you do that?
Because he belonged in that role, apparently.
Did he, like, is that
cow
a
liver?
nice gift or a
I'm
not
not really
nice
sure.
gift?
No wonder I felt like he was stealing my soul while we watched the show.
It's probably a nice gift in, like, some indigenous cultures of Africa or
right.
Asia
That, or
something.
it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, haha, it's a funny joke. You know, you gave me a creepy role. I'm gonna be
Right,
creepy,
yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
just like, no, that's just
I
creepy.
get
That's
you.
not funny
I had
anymore.
to cover myself in goopy, gross shit.
that's
and
true.
So this
Oh,
is
that
what
is
I'm-
true. Yeah.
gross.
Any
Oh,
other
dear.
favorite episodes?
Ice,
Yes, I was gonna say.
Yeah, Ice was
Ice,
good.
which I watched the video from the.
I think we all picked that one.
Yeah, well, I watched the video from the San Diego Comic-Con panel.
Oh.
And pretty much it was 90% of the people on the panel's favorite episode. So it clearly was a very popular episode, even among the creators. It's,
Are you talking about the 20th anniversary one from last
Yeah.
year? Cool.
That's and that's a bottle episode, and I'm not usually into those kinds of.
oh God, no! Anything
And-
with bugs, blah. Yeah,
No.
creepy.
Well, and
And you're right. It is a bottle episode.
it's a bottle
very
episode, and
clearly.
usually those
wait.
can
No,
get.
okay. So for people who don't know, explain what a bottle.
So a bottle
is.
episode is where you take, one or a couple characters and they're basically in one room trapped, quote unquote, in a bottle. And I have seen some truly amazing bottle episodes on TV, but there's a whole episode of Community about it. They can get tiring to me.
And transparently, like, because
Yes.
the point of a bottle episode is to save money.
Right.
You've blown, as producers, a ton of money on another episode either earlier in the season, or you intend to blow a lot of money later in the season. So this is an opportunity to cheaply tell a story
Right.
that hopefully can delve into the character interactions more and isn't obvious. Now, I don't
Right.
think it would have been obvious in 93, but now in 2014,
Now we see them a lot
it's
more.
so
obvious
obvious
when they're doing
and
it.
it's like there's no getting around it. When you see a bottle episode, it's just clear.
Yeah.
But this is a truly great bottle episode.
Yeah.
I thought it was really entertaining the whole time. It did keep me guessing, actually, which is pretty rare. Season 4.
It was really nice because there's a lot of good acting in that episode. The guy, again, I don't know the actor's name, who plays right. So it's Mulder and this guy, and then Scully and the female, right? So there's four of them.
Xander
So it's,
Berkeley.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed his performance. And it's very taut. It's it's like really
Was Felicity
well put
Huffman in
together.
that
Yes,
one?
she is.
She sure
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, she played the other.
Yeah.
And
It was really
it was
good.
taut with tension.
It was
Wrought
very
with tension.
taut.
it didn't feel contrived.
Exactly.
Which
that's
I
what you're
feel
saying,
like
yeah.
bottle episodes typically can. Like, I feel like a lot of times in bottle episodes, characters start acting contrary to their personalities
Right.
just to make the story work.
just for the sake
Yeah.
of the drama. And I didn't feel that way in this
Yeah,
episode.
no, not at all. I didn't feel that way at all either.
Yeah.
I
Eve's,
also-
Eve.
Eve is on
yeah.
the list, yeah.
Yeah,
We're
that
all
was
in
a
a
good
general
one.
consensus there.
That's a
Yeah.
that's a creepy one.
Well, and it's a creepy one. And what's interesting too is the monster or the villain, and
Yeah.
that's a woman, which
Yeah.
they don't do through
And
the
kids.
rest of the
And children,
kids.
yes.
But majority of these are either non-gender or men.
Right.
So this was a case where this
Yeah, it was
evil bad
unique.
guy was a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I love
Women.
women.
Oh yeah, women.
Just
Technically.
women,
And
yeah.
ladies.
And the girls that played the Eves, the younger Eves, were amazing.
they're so
Such
pretty.
great little actresses who I'm sure are now grown up and older than some
We
of us
are.
at the table.
Right.
But and the scene where they're at the rest stop getting cokes, I was live tweeting the episodes. I actually tweeted, "They're building so much tension with these cokes."
Although in that scene, my favorite part though is when they think they get on the school bus and then he
Yeah.
pulls them out of the boat, and I was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
"Go
that was
Mulder! You're
great.
so
Yeah,
much
that's
smarter than the little
right.
8-year-old."
I know that was
Thank
brilliant.
God.
Yeah.
He's so smart.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So apparently the band Eve 6 is named after
yes,
that
they're
episode.
named after that
Are
episode.
you kidding
yeah.
me?
I'm not kidding
Yeah.
you.
That's crazily geeky.
I know, isn't it?
Love it.
I totally respect them more for that.
That's how pervasive the X-Files was for all of us in the 90s.
Yeah.
And we all listened to Eve 6. So my other two favorites were Shapes.
Oh, you liked the Indian one.
I
Which I
did.
did not like.
Because it had
Tricky, it's a fine line.
it's really hard for me not to get really excited when Donnelly Rhodes is in anything. And he I was
Even though he plays the same character like every
I
single
know,
freaking
but
time.
I was still watching that episode and I was like, who is that? That guy is really familiar. I should know who this is. I had to look it up because he looked and sounded quite different, but still the same.
Yeah.
And I just love Donnelly Rhodes. I
I think
love
he has
him.
like a thing in his contract that
He has-
says he has to look this way and he
And he
you
has
know,
to
like,
be
there's, like,
smoking
no
in every
option.
scene.
Yes,
That's
Yeah.
when you're a character actor. That's why I mentioned the character actors, because a lot of the guest stars who are character actors are just, that's who they are.
Yeah.
And they're still that way 2 decades later. Oh, that's just how we know
definitely
them.
true with
Yeah.
that guy.
That's true. And I do think there are some problems with that episode. Like, they get really stereotypical with the angry native characters who are
Yeah.
mad at the white man. And, we all know that native people are way more three-dimensional than that. But at the same time, I thought it is rare that we get to see natives on TV.
True.
Still.
True. Oh, yeah. Even 20 years later.
Yeah. So,
25 years later.
I do like to get to see it. And I think aspects of it were fairly accurate to the experience. But I enjoyed the acting in it. I thought it was
My
good.
favorite part is when they call him Stinky Mulder.
Stinky
Yes.
Mulder. Yes.
Poor Mulder.
I liked this episode Space too, with
Oh,
the
my God, I hate that
investigation
one.
in NASA. I know, I'm sorry,
I
but
didn't
I
care
love
for
I
it.
like things NASA. I like space, so for me, I was already like you. I'm like, you already got me hooked. It's at NASA.
I agree about having space and NASA be the center point, but
I feel like they dropped the ball
Yeah.
on showcasing NASA.
Yeah,
in
I
that
can see
episode.
that.
Boring.
and the
It was
space
boring.
creature that possesses him.
Yeah.
Another piece of trivia, that's Chris Carter's least favorite episode.
Is it really?
Oh.
And he wrote it too, if I'm remembering correctly. Didn't
That's
he write
funny.
Space?
Maybe the network was like, gotta include NASA.
Yep, he
Well,
wrote that
could
episode,
be.
and it's his least favorite.
Yeah, I mean, it just fell really flat the entire way through. I had a really hard time paying attention when I was watching it. I just felt it felt boring,
The
and a lot
story
of
doesn't get developed well, I think.
it was very soap opera-y to me, where you're not really seeing a lot of the action. You're seeing the results of the action.
Oh, I can see
And
that.
X-Files has already not been that way. So for them to kind of take that route, because clearly they didn't have the budget to do all the space stuff that they would have
Right.
wanted to do. So we
Yeah.
get characters, oh, such and such is happening, and I can't show it on camera, but I'm going to tell you what's happening. Like that. Okay, I watched General Hospital enough. I don't need to get this on X-Files. Seriously.
So now we've all like totally trashed
Sorry.
that
Oh,
episode,
no,
but
that's
you liked
okay.
it. So
well, no, you all had very excellent points. I can see.
So tell us what you
That's-
liked about it now that we've pooped all over
I
it.
know, right? That's so rude.
You like the NASA part.
Yeah.
Well, I liked the NASA part.
Although I liked the woman.
yeah, I liked the woman a lot. And I just liked that. So they tend to get themselves into like either high class or classified situations over and over and over again. Like conveniently they just walk in, you know. But they kept kind of getting pushed back from the NASA one. They got in eventually, but they did kind of get that like
It felt real. That
it
part
felt
of it
a little
felt
more
real.
real. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I could see that.
Yeah.
And
Gotcha.
I think my other favorite episode is kind of divisive among the table, but it's Darkness Falls, which is
that the one with the boss? No, okay, no, the HOA one.
it's the one with the little green bugs.
Do not like, but I just don't like little green bugs.
You know, like
oh yeah, okay.
I say that I don't like bug episodes, but then I keep picking them as my favorite, so maybe I just need to admit that I actually do like bug episodes.
Maybe like same thing with me and Tombs. Like maybe it just creeps you out, and
Yeah,
you like to be creeped out.
I like to be creeped out, and that one's really creepy. Like it's really creepy. Like those little fuckers are like really gonna kill everybody.
Yeah, they are.
Except there's the scene where the guy is in his truck and he's trying to get out of his truck and he's trying to go out the driver's side the whole time. Yeah. I'm like, there's another door right there on your other side that is not blocked by a rock. All you have to do is shift like 2 feet to your right and you can get out of the truck.
But see, he was an asshole and we wanted him
we wanted him to die, but that was a big plot hole.
There were
to
some major plot holes. I still don't understand how they survived that. No one else did. I was like,
I think
years
they
later.
drove down the mountain just far enough that
Out of the range.
after they got cocooned, the guys they were found.
That's how
just
they
in
were found.
just,
Someone
just
found
enough
them before they
time.
died.
It was just a little convenient. And there were a lot of times where I
yeah.
was like, throughout that episode, I'm like, why aren't people dying? People were conveniently dying from these bugs, and they'd have like an explanation as to why, but I still felt like everyone should have died
Right.
Well,
based on how those bugs were operating.
that was one of the things that I liked the most about the episode was the quarantine procedure that they had to go through afterwards. Like they got fucked up by those bugs. Like they were in that quarantine for it seemed like months afterwards.
Well, it
like,
was at
that
least
was a
weeks,
very,
I think.
Yeah, and Scully was still in really bad shape even when Mulder was back up and walking around. And the intensity of what they experienced, I thought was fantastic.
The only
so
thing I
funny
don't
'cause
like about that is that means they just got right back up and kept doing what they're doing in the next episode because it's a movie, Monster of the Week.
It
type
was.
of show. There's no repercussions for the fact that they were out of commission.
Well,
for
and
weeks.
that's
It's
one
just-
of later on one of my drinking game rules is how often they either die or become hospitalized or near death or you're lucky you skated that one. How many times can these people
and
be
that's
lucky?
just in one season.
Yeah, in just season one.
Well, and that was the
And I
first
don't
time it had
remember
really
that episode.
happened.
So
Oh, you
it
don't?
didn't. I don't really remember.
Killer
it. So it didn't
Fireflies?
have a. It didn't. Really
Yeah,
have an
that's what it was.
impact
It was
on me.
Killer Green Fireflies.
It had a very like
Didn't have an
cabin
impact.
in the woods sort of feel.
It was actually Cabin in the Woods because they
Yeah.
were in a cabin
Or
in the
Evil
woods
Dead.
fighting. Yeah.
Very
no,
much like that.
I quite enjoyed
I didn't like
it.
the season closer.
Yeah, that was
I-
boring.
it felt
It was
flat.
boring as hell to
Yep.
me.
boring.
Not
Well, I
Oh,
was
solid.
more than happy to have stupid Deep Throat die. Cause
Well,
I really,
and when we watched
whatever.
that,
I
my
don't like
husband
seeing
was
people
like, "I didn't realize Deep Throat died that soon," and I was like,
I
"No,
forgot.
it's good that Deep Throat died that soon. We're okay with this, honey."
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
did
kind of
not
boring.
like it.
Yeah, it was a boring season finale.
It was.
It's
And
almost
she
like
was
they didn't-
pregnant. She was like super pregnant in that episode.
I knew she was pregnant early on. I didn't realize she was pregnant in that episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gillian Anderson had her baby like right after they finished filming the first
so that
season. I
last
think.
scene, I was like impressed because she's running and she's got to be like 7 months pregnant, 8 months pregnant, running in those
Well,
crazy 90s suits.
Well, yeah, but I know someone who is like almost 9 months pregnant right now, and she has like worked her butt off and has only gained 12 pounds her entire pregnancy.
God.
And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, where is that all going?
Well, you can if you look at it now that you know, if you look at her in that episode, you can totally
In her
tell.
face?
Yep, you can tell in her
Because
face.
sometimes you can't hide
She's
it.
got baby face.
Her suits are just a
little
little
loo-
bit bigger. And
Are they a little
looser?
looser?
You know?
and
Yeah, you
they
can
never
tell.
shoot from the breasts down.
Yeah.
Medium shots. Now I didn't even realize I was kind of checked out for those last few episodes. I watched them, but I was not as engaged because I have seen them all in some
Right,
capacity.
yeah.
And see,
Well-
now I want to go see the pictures.
Yeah, I
It
kind of want to
just
go back and
felt-
look at it.
just the whole, don't trust anyone. The truth that it just felt so contrived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish they would have done. How does anyone know you TV
Yeah.
people? Did Did they know they were picked up for season 2 at the end of season 1? Did they already know they were getting a second season?
I
They
would
probably
imagine
would have
by
been at that
then.
point. Yeah.
I would imagine by then they would have known, so I'm not quite sure why they did that. Unless maybe the question was in what capacity, because I do remember Gillian Anderson thinking that she was going to get fired when she got pregnant. She mentioned that she thought she was going to,
That sounds
Something was
familiar.
That it was sort of
happen.
scary to go in and have to tell them.
which is just,
Well,
typical.
Stupid.
that happens for way too many actresses.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so maybe they just didn't know how they were going to move forward yet, or I don't know.
That's
It was
certainly
just-
It's kind of like the season 1 Buffy ender, which could have just easily been the end of the whole series if they had wanted it to be. Maybe they just didn't know the direction they were going to take it.
Right,
And Gillian Anderson is missing from the first couple of episodes of season 2, right?
Yeah, and then she gets kidnapped.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they reference her or
Oops,
maybe
spoiler
talk to her,
alert.
but I don't know that you see her.
Yeah,
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that sounds right to me.
Because I really did like a lot of the guest stars or the
Oh, yeah.
actors, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call them. And most of the ones I really liked were the women. So I loved the handwriting expert.
She was my favorite.
Yeah,
So
she was cool.
good.
She was
Now I'm just showing
amazing.
off. She was great.
She was amazing.
Does anyone know? I didn't research it. Does anyone know? Did she go on to have a fruitful career?
Do we
What
know which
episode was she in?
episode that was?
She was in. It was one of the stretchy guy one.
Oh,
the
Tombs?
first one?
That's
the
right.
first one.
Squeeze.
It was
Yeah.
the first
I
I
one.
thought she was in
Squeeze.
Tombs too.
Her
She's cool.
chemistry with David Duchovny on screen was
So
incredible.
good.
Mhm.
Yes.
Incredible.
But she's someone who I bet would have chemistry with a lot of people. Just the way
I
she
kind of
did
got
it.
that feeling too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was her.
But yeah, them looking in the. I don't know what it was about them looking in the microscopes
Yeah.
together. I was like, yeah, let's do that some more. Like twice
It
an
was
episode,
really
please.
good. Yeah.
Cracking me up.
It was so great.
And then the one where
Apparently, her name is Colleen Winton.
yes, I do remember looking her up now.
That's the actor's name?
Yeah, and it looks like she does some. She's had some other guest spots. Apparently, she was on an episode of Stargate.
Yeah, I know I had seen
So
her
she's
elsewhere.
Canadian.
she lives in Vancouver.
Yep.
She's in all those Vancouver shows.
Yeah, she was on an
Who
episode
did-
of Sanctuary and
Who did she
Fringe.
play on?
Vancouver.
Confirmed.
She was Dr. Green. She was an NSA advisor.
And she was in Prisoners in the Last City Part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like she hasn't had like a big break or anything, but she's kind of
She's
consistently.
a working actor.
Yeah, she's kind of
Right.
consistently over time had something about every year or so. It looks like.
Oh, and she was in
Nice.
Taken and Millennium, and she just and the Net,
Once
the
again,
TV series.
Millennium confirmed. That was another Chris Carter.
Yes. Yeah. Vancouver
She comes
show.
back in Kitsunagiri in season. What would that be? 5.
She was in an episode of MacGyver. Check that out.
Everybody's been in MacGyver.
So I have
Like,
to say,
seriously.
I didn't like as far as like least character, since we didn't get on that.
Yeah.
Least favorite character, I did not like Phoebe.
I thought we'd all agreed that Deep Throat was her least favorite character.
No,
but yes.
was
Which
Phoebe?
one was Phoebe?
in Fire, the British friend of Mulder's.
Oh,
she's-
yeah, I didn't like
See,
her
we all
either.
forgot about her. We're like,
Well,
throw
no, because
away.
she plays that
Throw away.
stereotypical like
She-
femme
British girl.
noir, like
Yeah.
femme fatale. She's there
Oh,
to
you mean like
ruin.
Irene
she's there to
Adler?
sex up Mulder.
She's there to sex them
In
up and get
Sherlock.
what she wants
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
walk away.
No, I
Yeah.
mean like in British Sherlock, in the
Yeah,
British
that's what I
show.
mean. She's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
I-
that's a talk about a trope. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she
Yeah,
doesn't have
I-
to be that way in all of the incarnations of Sherlock. They just chose to make her
Make her that way. Yes,
Yeah.
I know.
But yeah,
I
totally
agree. I don't
stereotype.
like that. I didn't like that either.
I didn't care for her.
It
either.
wasn't memorable either, obviously, as none of us
Yeah.
were like, what?
Oh, I totally remembered it. I was sour.
She's like
Yeah.
our
Episode.
Aeneas.
Exactly.
I hate you. Get away from
Anise.
Mulder.
Yes.
Well, and we've all very clearly made it that Deep Throat is not
Not
our
a
favorite.
favorite.
Not
Not
our
a favorite
favorite.
character.
Yeah.
So of the character actors, I've got Donald Logue from ER, Terriers, Sons of Anarchy.
I mean, you're meant to hate that character
because he's a jerk.
because
Yeah.
he's a jerk.
But I like the actor.
Wait,
Yeah.
who did he
I like
play
him
on
too as an
ER?
actor.
I don't know. I just have
He played the
Grounded
guy,
for
the
Life.
helicopter pilot who, right? That's who he's on ER. And then he was in that really charming indie film, The Tao of Steve.
I haven't
He
seen
was
that.
in that really, really horrible Ghost Rider.
Didn't watch that.
Trying to think what else he's been in.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Seth
I really
Green.
Like him.
Seth
Yeah,
Yeah,
Seth
little
Green.
Seth Green.
I know. I was like, oh my
gosh.
It's 90s Seth Green.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
pre-Family Guy Seth Green.
Oh, he's still adorable, and he was then. He still is now. We love you, Seth Green.
Scott Bairstow from Party of Five.
Yes.
I wasn't really familiar with this guy's work, but I was familiar with his face. Rob LaBelle, who's from First Wave, Star Trek Voyager, Da Vinci's Inquest, 4400, Mark Shepard.
Yeah,
Mark
Shepard.
Shepard.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot
He
of
was so young in this.
I know,
was.
it was crazy.
I was pissed.
I missed his accent, though.
I was
I
pissed
too.
that they had Nicholas Lay and then reused him. Like, I was like, really? I hate when shows recycle characters. I mean, Krychek went on to be such
A vital part.
Yeah, he
and
was
they-
really part of the mythology.
and then they had him play
A little
throwaway
role.
character.
Yeah, I was so. He's
what
too
season
memorable
are you
to
guys
do
talking
that.
about now? Because
This is season 1.
Season
Nicholas
1.
Lay played in Genderbender, I believe.
well, yeah, but
Oh.
Krychek doesn't come back until Krychek doesn't show up until way later in the season.
no,
right?
like season 2
No,
or
he's
3.
in. I think. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
See, 'cause
He
again,
comes
I
in either
haven't-
the end of season 1 or the beginning of season 2.
He's not
It's
in
very,
s-
very early.
No, they don't introduce him again in season 1, so it must be season 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Okay.
early on, and then there's
Okay.
like a break. But
But you see his face is so distinguishable. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
not a throwaway character. And then when he shows back up again, you're like, wait a second. I'm
Is that
confused.
I know that guy.
Yeah.
Right, like isn't that the guy who
Yeah.
got killed?
I'm glad shows don't do that anymore.
Although I did like that episode, the
gender
weird,
bender?
the gender bender.
I thought
yeah.
that was an interesting episode
I thought it was
as
an
well.
interesting episode for the 90s.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, from
For the
that,
90s,
yeah,
yeah.
I did not like that Scully was seduced by pheromones. That made me
Well,
cringe.
but that's interesting because that was a scientific thing.
Yeah.
Like, it was
For sure.
pheromones that did it.
It
not
was
like,
very cringy worthy, though.
Yeah,
the way it was
yeah.
It was
done.
real icky.
In the weird, the massaging, the gross stuff. all
Yeah.
over
Oh,
the-
yeah.
Ugh.
Ugh.
There was a lot of like goo in X Files.
Yeah,
Oh,
like,
There's a lot of goo.
a lot of
Lot
gr- I
of
was
goo.
trying to compare it to Fringe, which we talked about.
Fringe
how
gets pretty gross.
Fringe
but
gets pretty gross too, but it's not in the same way.
I had forgotten how gross X-Files gets.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
don't know why I forgot that, because it's pretty gross.
It's gross.
Yep.
for
That was
sure.
one of the things I tweeted was, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was
Grossness.
pretty gross.
It's pretty gross. But, I think that's part of the reason why I love
From
watching it so
Fringe,
much. I'm
yeah.
definitely a scab. You grew up with 2 nurses in the family.
Yeah.
They kind of like gross stuff, so you grow up around it a lot.
Indeed.
Watched a lot of ER,
Indeed.
which my husband
Yeah.
can't take.
I thought it was really totally bad segue.
Yeah.
Because I just looked at my notes. I was really fascinated at what other shows started, and I looked at the whole list.
You mean during the X-Files run?
the same year?
Oh,
so
okay.
1993.
Oh, that's right.
So, and obviously this is a subset. So Star Trek Deep Space Nine started that
This
same
was a good year for TV, I think.
The Untouchables, which I don't remember watching. Homicide: Life on the Street started this year, right? Which went on to be
Wow.
like a juggernaut.
Yeah.
The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., which may have been why I didn't watch this season because I loved that show.
That was such
like
a good
crazy,
show.
crazy. love
I've
that
never
show.
seen that show.
It's
I
so
wonder if it's on
funny.
Netflix.
I don't
so
even
much.
know what
It's
that
such a
show's
great
about.
show.
I've heard of it, but I've not
It's
seen
Bruce
it.
Campbell, and it's like
Aw.
it's like a U.S. It has that Xena wackiness where he's in the Old West, but there's a sci-fi component. It's really funny.
Yeah.
I
It's
loved
real
it.
campy.
Camptastic
Yeah.
sounds like.
Yeah, well, you know me in the camp. Missing Persons, NYPD Blue, and
Wow.
Diagnosis Murder all started
Oh,
in this
wow.
year, right?
Wow.
That's a heavy-hitting year.
Yeah.
It's a big
And then the
one.
following year, I think ER and Friends, or
Yeah, I think you're
Well,
right.
you've got Stargate SG-1 in there somewhere too, either right
Stargate
before or
started
right
in,
after.
what was
Yeah.
that, 95 or 96?
97.
The 90s,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
The 90s were awesome for
Good
TV.
times.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a good time for TV. Let's see what else we've got.
Indeed.
An
Um,
overarching thing about X-Files I noticed, and it's because of my own background.
Mm-hmm.
Honest to God, if you just declined their travel requisitions, the show
Right?
wouldn't exist.
Exactly.
Like, if the FBI just said, oh no, I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars
Yes.
to send you to Portland and give you a rental car that
Yeah.
gets destroyed. Like,
yeah.
no, in these cases, they're not even like asked to be on. They just show
They
up
just
at.
Right.
Next thing you know,
Yeah.
they're on the other side of the country. And you're just like,
There,
Yeah.
from
Hey,
a logistical police department stand, like the FBI, from that logistic standpoint, like, really?
A lot of money.
hey, I know a guy.
a
I
lot
heard
of
a
tax
guy.
dollars.
I
to
heard from
not
a
get
guy
a
that you guys are
conclusion.
pros. Can you come across the country? Because we have this really
Right.
big mystery.
it
No.
did always make me wonder how much disposable income FBI agents actually get. Like,
Oh,
they-
well, it's expense.
do
in the-
some
Are
of
you
them
kidding me?
just
It's
get
expense.
to? I'm sure there are agents that just, all right, there's this case I see, I'm gonna go check it
But
out.
it's hard to believe that this one, this area of the department that is so hated and
What is it?
Yeah.
What's the opening?
distrusted.
When she goes down in the basement,
They
and
want to
he has that
discredit
opening
it.
line. Nobody down here, but the FBI's least wanted. That's
Oh,
like
yeah.
the opening.
Yeah. If
That
you,
is a great line.
opening.
You're right.
if
That is
you
a famous
don't
line,
want
yeah.
it, just stop giving them money to
Exactly.
travel. Like you don't have to close it down; it'll close itself down.
Exactly.
Like that.
But
for
of course,
me
they
was like,
didn't want to close it.
Because it's TV.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because, they did. Yeah.
I know
Right,
it would
I mean,
make
it's
horrible
safe, yeah.
TV for these things to get declined. But like, there's a part of me that like I kept thinking that and be like, "Yep, you can't think that. You got to put that out of your mind."
Well, just like if people didn't fall in love like that.
Yeah,
well,
fall
I mean,
in love,
What movies
yeah.
would exist? Right.
Right.
Hey, it happens. Yeah, I was gonna say though, they always travel across the country to the same forest in California.
Or Vancouver.
I was
In
gonna
that
say
case, it would have been
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Season 1 would have been Vancouver.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting they were filming it up
Yeah,
there
they
at
were
that point.
filming
Like 3 or 4
Vancouver.
seasons, I think.
Oh, Vancouver.
I love
Okay,
it.
so with X-Files, a couple things that I disliked about X-Files was the pilot for sure, and what they tried to do with the pilot. Like, why did you make Scully take her clothes off in the pilot?
Because it was a pilot.
No,
Right?
you're right.
I-
It's because it was a pilot.
But I
I
agree
just
with
hate
you.
A pilot
issue
in
with it.
1993 on Fox. Let's
Yeah.
Okay.
add those little details.
Yeah.
Fair
But
enough.
no, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
with
totally
you.
agree.
And they never did, they let go of it very quickly.
Right, as soon as that ended, at least they
They moved on to
Moved
shirtless
on. They moved
Mulder.
Which,
And lace dresses, whatever. But continue.
Alice always takes issue with the lace.
Why don't you like lace?
I don't like the
I
lace.
love lace.
lace.
That horrific lace dress that she wears on the date.
It's a
Oh,
shirt.
yeah, that was
Lace
pretty bad.
shirt, whatever the
I
hell
loved
it is.
it.
Oh,
I can't remember.
I tweeted
So-
how much I loved it, and you were like, "That's disgusting."
Disgusting.
Anyway,
Sorry.
we totally
Sorry.
derailed you
No, that's
again,
all right.
Andrea.
No, that and just I think I'm trying to figure out how to put this into words. The same thing I kind of take issue with other TV shows like Psych. The sheer number of people who die around them.
Oh,
yeah.
like
sure. Like you don't want to live in
it's
Cabot Cove.
right. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to know them because I will die.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Right.
It after a while it gets to be like, okay, so you see a character come on screen and it's 50-50 odds that they're not going to make it through the episode.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I think season 1 it's particularly bad because they're trying to really get into like the nitty gritty gory of the intention of the episodes, but
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
they are so like I made the Cabot Cove joke. Like if you're a detective who's a murder detective, it's
You're going where the murders
You're
are.
going to go where
Right.
people are dying. But it is like you wouldn't want to be related to the chick on not Diagnosis Murder. Cabot Cove, help me, old lady.
No idea.
I don't know who you're talking
Angela
Are you
about.
talking about
Lansbury.
Murder, She Wrote?
Murder, She
Yeah.
Wrote. Like you would want to know that woman because
Yeah.
you're right.
You
50-50 chance
yeah.
you're going to die
Right.
if you know her.
And it's not that they're going to people who are already dead. It's that in the manner of the episode, additional people die, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, great.
Through the
Yeah.
nature
No, I
of the
hear ya.
investigation.
Yeah.
yeah.
people
No,
die.
I hear you.
And it's always the naysayers are the ones who don't pay attention.
Yeah,
or
don't
give-
disagree with them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, or don't be
disagree.
a jerk to them.
Yeah.
In season 1, for me, Scully fell into her character, the believability of her character for me instantaneously. Mulder, for me, has a few moments where I feel like as an actor, he's still sort of figuring out how he's going to have Mulder be.
Yeah.
And there are points at which his
Yeah.
performances fall flat for me
Yes.
in terms of believability.
Which is really
Yes, I
interesting considering one of the things I was reading up on said that when they filmed the pilot, it was only the second time that Gillian Anderson had ever been in front of a camera.
Really?
Yeah, it's still pretty
She
early.
did-
She did
Still pretty
theater.
early. Yeah, she only did
some
theater.
theater, and she did like a small TV spot or something. But they were trying to get somebody else. They wanted a
Yeah,
tall, leggy,
Right.
bombshell, busty,
Whatever.
lady. And Chris Carter was like, "No, you have to trust me. This woman is going to be phenomenal." And
She was.
She
She's
was. She still is. But yeah,
like her.
when she was saying like she was so nervous to not like she didn't want to fuck it up. They put a lot into her.
Right.
Season 1, second time in front of a camera. Oh my God, what do I do? So it's kind of amazing that we believe her from the get-go when this was so fresh. It must have just been natural for her. It must have
Yeah.
just been a little bit of push, a little bit of her theater combined with just this natural, like organic charisma that she has.
Yeah.
And I think an understanding of the character.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like some characters are just made for some actors, or
Yeah.
some actors are just perfect for the character, and it's like a crapshoot. But in this case, she must have just so understood that character.
I totally agree. I think she really gets Scully.
Yeah.
I think she really does. Scully's an easy character to get, though. At least I feel.
Versus Mulder.
Versus
I agree
Mulder.
With you.
Yeah.
I agree
Because
with you.
Scully, again, is ruled by science. She's a scientist. She wants the proof. She wants the evidence. She's an FBI agent. She's a damn good FBI agent.
Ambitious.
She's ambitious. Yeah, but Mulder, it's like, who is this nut?
He's like an incredibly brilliant but emotionally driven person.
Yes.
So he can't keep himself under control.
And he's broken.
And
Yeah.
and he's totally
He's gotta play
broken.
broken.
And that's what's attractive, I think, as a character for an actor to play, is that the dynamic is not as cut and dry as for Scully. Like, Mulder's got logic, but he's also got that emotion and that trauma and that brilliance.
and he's very driven by
And
that.
he's driven,
Yeah.
and he's not always believed. So he's not the classic hero in the sense that everyone he comes in contact with automatically buys into what he's saying.
Yes.
He's constantly got to struggle to prove himself, and sometimes he gets it wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes and more often than not, he looks like an ass at first.
Yeah. Now I grew to totally believe him in that role, but I just felt like in season 1 he's experimenting, he's trying things. It didn't. There were just moments where he falls flat for me.
Oh, I
whereas
agree.
Yeah.
Scully was like there from the get-go.
Well,
Yeah.
I would argue that this season is not David Duchovny or Gillian Anderson's best work.
Oh,
but
I
I
agree.
I do understand
Yeah.
what you guys are saying.
Well, and
Totally.
I find it interesting, and I feel like a little bit of the Mulder character, and again, maybe we're deviating and it's not so much in season 1, does a lot of the same thing that Richard Dean Anderson's character did in Stargate, that they're so brilliant, but they don't want you to know how smart they are. And I'm a little offended by that, because there's nothing wrong with being brilliant.
Sure.
So
Yeah, but again, like, we are talking about a different generation where
That's right.
oftentimes, I think we celebrate people being smart a little bit more than we used to.
Yep.
I agree.
Especially as a classic male hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they
Yeah.
need to be strong and
Right.
Driven, and that's it.
yeah.
So I guess you kind of answered the question, though, about whether you'd watch more. Are you going to watch it until the end?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep watching it. I let off as we got closer to the podcast, so I didn't get too far ahead of myself. It's kind of hard. Obviously, we all had a really difficult time, like, bringing ourselves back to just season 1.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes the difficulty when you're doing a TV series like this. But I did stop, I think, season 3 or 4, so I could revisit 1 again and keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would totally keep watching.
Well, and you're just hitting the good stuff. So
Drinking game rules for the X-Files. I have some good ones.
Are we
Who
just
wants
gonna
to
go
start?
around one at a time?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
start
that's
with
typically
Andrea,
what
because
we
you're
do.
being educated.
Okay. Mine is anytime that Mulder gets that, like, kid in a candy store look on his face. Like when he gets that, like, sweet, and like everyone else is like, this is a murder, and he's like,
He gets really
"Woo!"
excited.
He gets that really
Yeah.
excited look. Like, you have to take a drink.
okay.
Alice.
Every time Mulder breaks out the projector throughout the entire series.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I like it.
So Scully gets this face. She will be looking at, like, X-rays or a piece of evidence. She just looks super intently at something. You guys all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anytime that happens, you need to take I'm putting a shot on that one.
Whoa.
Well, that's like every episode, Megan.
Be a sip.
Damn.
Right?
She wants to get us drunk.
You have to empty your glass. So whatever you
Oh,
happen
no.
to have in your glass at the time for spooky, foxy, or stinky.
Nice.
Okay, that's a good one.
Okay, so you have to take a shot anytime they talk about, like, don't trust someone. Don't trust them. Trust no one. Like, anytime that comes up.
Nice. Or I Want to Believe, too? Do you want to throw I Want to Believe and Trust No One in there? Because those are
Yeah,
the
well,
things-
yeah, we can
No, I
pair
guess
those
those are
two
two
together.
separate,
Well,
yeah.
but yeah.
The
Same
famous
deal,
lines.
though. If they say, the truth is out there.
Exactly. Those are 3 famous ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time Scully conveniently fails to witness some crazy shit, take a shot.
Damn it.
Oh, that's a good
Sorry,
one.
they
She
take that
missed
from
it again.
Yeah, she missed it again. She looked away. Conveniently.
Take a sip whenever you go, oh, 90s fashion.
Oh, yes. That happens a lot.
Shoulder pads.
Take a shot anytime shirtless Mulder is on screen.
Yeah.
And enjoy the view.
Take
Yes.
a drink anytime you realize the height difference between Duchovny and Anderson.
Aw,
Fun
yes.
fact, Gillian Anderson is so short, they had to make a special apple box for her. They took a 1.25 and put them together to make her the perfect height.
Yeah, because when you see
Yeah.
them
Perfect.
not,
So
it's
what is that? The perfect height between
Well, they
a man
wanted
and a
for a
woman.
camera.
Well, no, it's framing.
Yeah,
the
so
camera.
that especially when they're framing her and Mulder together, they needed to boost her up so that you could see both of them
So
on frame.
when the height difference is so extreme like it is there, you have to do a lot of wide shots to get their heads in the frame, which takes away from the intensity of doing like medium 2 shots.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it had to be when they're standing.
Yeah, it's a lot of when
Yeah.
they're
yeah,
standing.
but
in
anytime you
places.
see them like walking and you're just like,
Yes.
oh my gosh,
Yes.
Holy
that's
crap.
a shot.
Yeah.
A drink for radio static or snow on a TV or computer
Ooh.
screen.
Yeah.
That's
That's a good one.
Every time Mulder or Scully bumbles their way into an investigation, gets kidnapped, loses their weapon, gets swamped, take a drink.
Take a drink anytime Scully asks Mulder, "Why are we here?" or "Why are we really here?
Yes.
I like that.
What
one.
are we doing here?"
I like that one a lot.
My Scully is just take a sip every time Scully states the fucking obvious.
She's good at that.
I'm only laughing because I do that too.
She's good at it.
It's take a drink again. Like take a drink anytime they wind up like near death, at death, in the hospital.
Yes.
You just thwarted death.
And that's a series run thing.
And that's a
PS.
yes. That is a good way if you really want to make sure you're taking a drink. Use that rule.
It's my turn.
Yep.
Whenever Scully and Mulder disagree on a theory, take a sip.
My next one was very similar to that. It's take a drink when the mid-episode debate between
Yes,
Mulder and Scully
exactly.
starts. So yeah,
I was thinking
same.
like after they've already been in the investigation, they've already interviewed a few people.
And they have that scene.
Disagreement.
Usually they're outside or walking
Yes.
somewhere where Scully and Mulder start debating what they think is actually going on. And Scully gets so angry.
Usually it's Mulder explaining to her what it is, and she's like, "No, you're wrong.
Yeah.
No, no.
I'm
no,
not
no."
listening to this.
The mid-episode debate.
Yes, that's a good title.
So a shot, if anyone in your viewing party goes, I made this.
Yes.
I do that every time.
I used to do it way more.
It's so hard not to.
Oh, wait, I didn't follow that one.
1013's ending
so if you
tag bumper.
watch all the way through to the end,
Yeah.
the production company,
Yeah.
their little end shot is, I made this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just some little voice, just
okay.
like Bad Robot and
I do-
the Battlestar
yeah.
Galactica's, which was different every episode.
Yeah.
Right.
I know someone who worked on those. Yeah, and I do the whole thing. I do the I made this. Dun, 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 dun. Like, because they go right into each other
Yes,
really
they do.
quickly. So 2 shots if you catch me doing
There
that,
you
I guess.
And the person who says it has to drink too.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
the
kind of
person who
like-
gets caught has
Because it's
to.
have-
Pavlovian,
it.
right? Like
Yeah.
you're doing it because you've heard it all the time. You're not doing it on
Yes.
purpose.
So-
well, right.
Yeah.
And therefore you should
You
drink.
should drink.
Yeah, if you get caught, you're the one taking the
Yes.
drink.
So I like to make people drink, but I don't like to make people take like massive amounts of shots where you're like, you pass the fun drunk place to the like plastered like drooling drunk phase.
To the
So-
drunk history drunk place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to the drunk history drunk place. That's a good one. But mine is you have to keep drinking, so waterfile style, where you keep
Right,
drinking
yep,
your
yep,
drink
yep.
during the entire like voiceover that Scully gives to
Oh,
her.
Oh my god.
I
So
am
there are a
opting
couple
out.
of those episodes.
She talks a
Some of them
lot
are
in
short,
some.
though.
In some.
Some of
yeah,
them are
and,
short,
and not
but
every
some of
single
them are
episode
long.
has one.
Right.
That's
So
true.
that's fair.
That's a good
I think
point.
that's fair.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you just have to start when she starts, and you keep drinking
Yep.
until your drink's either gone or she's done.
When I'm done with that moment, I'm gonna be so pissed.
Cassie's gonna
You're
text
gonna
me and be
have
like,
to
I hate
piss.
you.
Exactly. But is it my turn yet?
Yes.
Again, for hookah lovers or lovers of other things that one can smoke, every time you see the cigarette smoking man, take a hit or whatever it is you do
Ooh.
on a hookah, on a other
cigarette.
Siggy.
The legal things.
The legal things only, of course.
And I don't think so this will be my last one because I don't think anyone has said it yet, although I think it's probably on everybody's list, which is that you have to take a drink every time you recognize that actor.
Oh,
We
yeah.
all sort of
Oh
talked about
yes,
it.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Which the
Anytime-
the
Anytime
Yeah,
it's a
the
guest
guest stars,
actor,
yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, that's from
So and so from such and such.
yeah, John Davis from whatever.
To your point earlier, Andrea, whenever Mulder and Scully manage to use federal funds to go to the far reaches of Alaska or some podunk town in the Midwest, take a drink.
I A note on that, by the way, the only time that was an issue is when they were trying to hunt down that train that was going to the north part of Washington. That was the only time that they were like forced to use their own money. Like,
Right,
just to be
yeah.
clear.
Right.
Yeah.
Every
Really?
other time, the FBI paid for it.
Federal taxpayer.
That's right.
That's
where
You
my
and
money
I-
goes.
You and I are paying for Mulder and Scully to go on trips.
Yep.
Take a drink or take a I don't know if it should be a drink or a shot. Anytime Mulder starts listing things,
Oh,
You could do another
the
waterfall.
Wolfman,
but the whole
unexplained
time.
alien
Yes.
abductions. You know, he just like will go
He has
bam,
them.
bam,
Yeah.
bam, bam, like 5 or 6 things. You got to take a shot.
Nice. Whenever Mulder or Scully ditches the other mid-investigation for, personal
Whatever
reasons, whatever,
reason.
take
Yeah.
a shot because shit's going to go down.
I think
Yeah.
it should be that you take a shot anytime Mulder knows what's going on and Scully doesn't.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
he knows that this is a case and she's just like wait, what?
yeah. And I will say, I do make it a drinking or a drink or whatever. When I love it when somebody is making fun of Mulder and he just takes it in stride and it's like, no, they would be white, a reticulant, blah blah blah, whatever, and he just plays it straight.
Yeah.
No,
that
that
is
just
nice.
goes
He
with
doesn't
it.
get
That
he
is
doesn't get
nice.
upset or anything. I love it when he does that.
Looks like Megan's got some good
I've
ones.
got a long list because I went through all my tweets. Take a drink anytime Mulder makes one of his stupid one-liners.
I love
Yes.
those.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
He makes a lot of just
Just
makes
one
a lot of
one
one
hit.
stupid joke.
I want
He
somebody
thinks
to
he's
tell
very
one,
clever.
right?
Yeah.
I know I
Find
can't think of one off the top of my head.
Every
I
time,
tweeted a couple of them.
every time Scully and Mulder separate in a creepy place when they really shouldn't, take a
Oh,
drink.
that's like a right.
That's
like
just a drink.
horror movie.
Yeah.
And they do
staple.
it every time. Every time.
Take a shot, or probably a drink, anytime Scully is performing an autopsy.
Yes.
And there's not a ton of that in season
No,
1.
there
She only
isn't.
does a couple
No,
of them,
but
but it gets more
it's
intense
a
later
serious
on.
one,
yeah.
That
Yeah.
first one they did, it was shaky cam. I'm glad they didn't stick with that.
It definitely
They got
weren't
over it.
sophisticated enough to do that in 93. There were a couple shaky cam moments. They were before their time there, but I was like, no.
No,
You
that
best
didn't work
get
for
that
me.
on sticks or something real fast. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of shaky cam.
I'm not either.
Okay, I have more, unless other people have more.
I have one
Nope.
last one.
Okay.
Whenever you feel the writers are ham-fisting the moral of the story into the final act, take a drink.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one of the Mulder one-liners.
'Kay.
It's when they are in the hospital.
Uh-huh.
Mulder sees the cigarette man. He's like, please tell me you're here with severe chest pains.
Yeah,
Oh,
he says shit like that
Mulder.
all the time.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good
Little
one.
did he know. You just wait, Andrea.
and
You
no
just-
one
They were
ever,
herbal cigarettes. They were
everyone
herbal
always
cigarettes.
just moves on.
Right. Nobody's like
He
laughs
says
or
stuff and
anything.
people just pretend like it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
like, shut up, man.
Poor
Like,
Mulder.
no, we don't have time for your crap.
Like when Scully, here's one, and I don't think it's from this season because I don't remember it, but it's like Mulder, toads just fell from the sky, and Mulder's like, well, I guess their parachutes didn't open.
Oh my God.
What just fell from the sky?
Toads, like frogs.
Yes.
Yeah,
He's
that's
very-
kind of that right there is the
That right
antithesis
there.
of that.
Yeah.
Mulder.
No, that's a perfect example.
I like it better if you don't laugh at the one-liner, but everyone else, like you catch somebody else laughing
If
at the
someone
one-liner,
gets caught
then you
laughing,
make them.
that person has to take a
you
shot.
have to be like,
I
you
like that.
laughed, and then they have to take a shot.
I would drink every time.
Everybody else needs to take a sip, though, just
Okay.
to
Fair,
celebrate its
fair.
lameness.
Okay.
I would be laughing every time. This would not be fair. I would be so drunk in these drinking game rules.
I like Mulder.
I think I'm gonna take our drinking game rules, and as I continue to watch them, I may
Test them out.
torture
Test them
myself
out.
occasionally.
Test
I started testing out
Test
my
the
Zelda
liver.
drinking game rules. It got a little
Test my
dangerous.
liver.
Okay, so I just have 2 more that I want to do. And they're kind of, well, one of them is season 1 specific. You should take a shot every time CSN Deep Throat or Well Manicured Man shows up. That's like a series long thing.
Yeah.
And if they show up multiple times in the episode, I think it's just the first time you see them, just for
Okay.
safety's sake.
Like just their appearance in the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for season specific, take a shot to celebrate the first ever appearance of the Lone Gunman.
I was gonna say, yeah, we
Yes.
haven't done that one yet.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be
I
a
love them.
specialty drink of some kind.
Oh, absolutely.
I think I need to find a lone gunman recipe.
I wonder if there's one out there.
I don't know. Let's find
Well,
out.
Drunken
We
Moogle,
could
of
create
course.
one.
But although
Yeah.
Drunken Moogle mostly does games, but
So thank you for joining us today. We do have a list of announcements before we sign off. We are going to be at Phoenix Comic Con 2014, so we wanted to let you guys know that we have several panels that we're planning. The first is what we're calling Is There Such a Person? H.P. Lovecraft's female characters in 3 short stories. Alice, can you talk a little bit more about that panel?
So my friend Philip Chang, who is a lifelong Lovecraft lover, is going to be joining us to talk about the Dunwich Horror, The Thing on the Doorstep, and I can't remember the third one, to talk about the frequency of female characters in Lovecraft, at least in those 3 short stories, and what roles women tend to play in his short stories.
And that one is going to be on Thursday, June 5th at 8 p.m. We don't know the room yet, and that's usually decided pretty last minute. So keep an eye on your schedule when you get there. And then we're also doing, this has kind of become a standard for us at Phoenix Comic-Con. We're doing American Horror Story panel. This year we're going to be talking about Coven. That one will be on Friday, June 6th at 1 p.m.
Wear black.
Wear black, yes. We're all going to come dressed as witches from American Horror Story. We also have one that we're calling Agents of STEM, Women Working in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. And I have found 4 very awesome women who work here in the Valley in each of those 4 fields. And we'll be talking about ways that you can get your daughters interested or engaged in going into STEM if that's something they're interested in.
Or your sons.
Or your sons, yes.
Women can be inspiring to boys as well.
That's true.
And FYI on that one, just keep your eye on the schedule because that title may be too long, so it might end up being called something
I think it's going to end up
else.
being called just Women Working in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. But I wish we could have fit the agents.
Of STEM.
That
is
was
so
pretty cool. That one we're still waiting on time and date, so we'll put that out there as soon as we have it. We also have a Game of Thrones panel we're calling All Men Must Die, and we're going to be co-hosting that one with Hong and Richard, 2 of our friends from the Geek News Network. Again, time and date on that one are TBD. Geek host Sarah is going to host a panel called Ichabod's Apocalypse, Sleepy Hollow and Literature, History, and the Bible. So she's going to get together with a panel of sleepyheads and talk about the new show.
I actually have to read the Bible.
Oh my God, Alice.
I know, right? Book of Revelation specifically.
Yeah, because it plays a key role in the show.
In the story, yeah.
It'll be
Yeah.
interesting.
That's also known as a horror story.
It's going to be really interesting because you have such a Sleepy Hollow background, and I actually have a pretty big biblical background, but no Sleepy Hollow background. So
Oh, and the show is really entertaining.
yeah,
so.
I'm really
If you're
excited.
gonna
I'm
enjoy
so
it,
excited, but
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah.
it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're only reading the books that are being referenced, I take
Yeah,
it.
I'm only going to read
Yeah.
the Book of Revelations.
You don't even have to read the whole thing.
Okay.
Trust me.
And again, time and date on that one are TBD. We'll put it out there as soon as we have it. And saving the best for last, Squee! We're doing a panel that we're calling Squee Fest 2014, 6-packs, guns, and tight buns. This is going to be a grown-ups only panel, and we are going to find some of our Yes, we're going to find some of our favorite guys from sci-fi and talk about how beautiful they are. We're going to host a contest to pick the hottest guy.
The hottest Hottie McHotterton.
It's dude to dude, right? Men to men.
Yes, it's just we're going to objectify men for an hour.
For an hour.
Yeah. Good times.
So we apologize in advance.
So I'm not going to apologize for that. They
Good
look
time will
good.
be had by all.
But yeah, it should be fun. We're going to do the contest, and we're going to see if we can get some goodies to give away. Again, we're still waiting for a time and date on that last one. And as soon as we know all of the information we're still waiting for, we'll make sure to put it up on all of our social networks. So just keep an eye on that. So thank you for joining us for our discussion of X-Files Season 1. Don't forget to check out our website, educatinggeeks.com. We use the hashtag EducatingGeeks on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and even Google+. And if you're going to be at Phoenix Comic-Con 2014, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a shout out on social media. You can leave us a comment or use the hashtag. We'll keep an eye out. And a reminder, if you have drinking game rules of your own that you'd like to share, please let us know. You can comment on our post on our website. Again, go to one of our social networks and just tell us what you've got. And if we get some good ones along the way, we'll include them when we post the drinking game rules next week.
They don't even have to be all that good.
We would just like to hear from you guys, really, is what we're trying to say. So we hope you'll join us for our next episode. We're going to be celebrating May the 4th and giving Cassie an education on the second Star Wars movie, The Empire Strikes Back.
Squee!